So I just got back from the Odyssey last Friday. Went on opening day. It's been the weekend. It's Monday morning now. I'm recording this video. Safe to say, look, phenomenal film. Go and watch it. I mean, Christopher Nolan. Look, this isn't an Odyssey review, right? But what I wanted to talk about was the concept or the question or the theme or whatever you want to call it that's been kind of rattling around in my mind ever since I went to see it. And that is that you've got kind of half the world, or probably more than half the world at the moment, kind of screaming about AI, saying that if you don't introduce it into workflows, then you're going to be behind. If you don't introduce it into creative systems, then you're working at like a tenth of the speed as everybody else. Essentially like this fear mongering around, if you don't introduce this new technology, then you're going to get left behind and everyone's going to get ahead, blah, blah, blah. But then on the other side of it, right, you've got the pinnacle of creative expression within like Hollywood and the film industry, right? Chris Nolan, huge blockbuster, like that film is just phenomenal. Shot with no AI, right? Real humans, real director, real crew, shot on film, right? Shot, edited, projected on film. This medium that's been around since like the end of the 1800s, I think was roughly when film was introduced, right? And it's like we're almost seeing kind of like this resurgence of analog within the market and within kind of like trends, right? Like even myself personally, like I find that I am gravitating way more towards physical mediums, like writing my own notes when I'm on a call, right? Or, doing things on a whiteboard when Josh and I have an idea that we're trying to kind of flesh out, or concepts that we're trying to flesh out. I'm even like looking at potentially getting like a Nokia phone, right? And I'm leaving my phone at home a lot more than I used to. I feel like there's this shift in the market at the moment. And I think naturally, like whenever you start to push one thing, the equal and opposite reaction, like it's physics, right? It's every reaction has an equal and opposite reaction, or whatever it is, every action, okay? And I just find it so interesting that there's such a push now to have this technology in your business, to forsake the skills and the expertise and the knowledge and the gift that you've been given as a creative, and that you've developed and honed over the past like 10, 20 years of your career, and just to throw it all out the window now because there's a tool that does it faster, essentially, because we're not yet at the point where it's doing it better. Like it can definitely do it cheaper, it can definitely do it faster, but I don't think we've reached a point where like the quality or the care or the attention to detail or the meaning or the purpose and all of this stuff that makes creative work inherently valuable, right? Everything that made the Odyssey valuable is that it was a director of a lifetime with the crew of a lifetime on photographic mediums of a lifetime, right? Like all of this stuff, it has inherent value. And the reason why I personally went to see it, and probably a lot of people that I know will go to see it, is because of those things, right? Because we value those things inherently. And I find it so interesting that there seems to be kind of there seems to be two groups. You've got like the people who are all for it and really want it and want it in every single aspect of their life. And then you've got the people that I lean more towards, right? That are kind of like, look, I was really good with where everything was at. And I'm sure that this happened during the internet. I'm sure this happened during the Industrial Revolution. I'm sure it happens during every stage of technological evolution, right? You've got people who are kind of like, I think things were great as they were, and then you've got the other people that push more for it. And what really springs to mind when I start speaking about all of this sort of stuff and start thinking about it is the quote from Henry Ford, which is essentially like, if I asked, Henry Ford is the founder of the Ford Motor Company, right? And he's got this really great quote that is basically, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have told me faster horses, right? But he produced cars, he produced the engine. And I think that that's so interesting because like, if you ask me what I want, I probably do want faster horses, right? I want I want fantastic cameras, I want faster editing software, I want, tools that allow me to reduce the friction between idea and then final executed product, right? Final executed asset, output, deliverable, whatever you want to call it. And I wonder whether I am falling into that camp of just thinking that, because we don't know what this technology can do, because we don't know the applications just yet, and really where it's going to have kind of massive implications within our lives, maybe I am the group that just wants a faster horse, right? And I don't think that there's necessarily anything wrong with that. Like I said, I'm very happy with the state of technology. I think we can also all agree that there's probably some aspects of digital technology, like social media, like spending excessive time on a screen, like everything kind of have to be forced into kind of like a 60-second message with no pauses, no ums, no ahs, no human inflections, right? No detail, get rid of all of it, purely for the sake of engagement. Like, I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing and it's heading in a good path. And I think that the application of AI into those fundamentally broken technologies is only going to exacerbate the issues that are being caused off the back end of those technologies. And I think that ultimately we're kind of at a point now in the market where trust is really at an all-time low. Like when I go on LinkedIn nowadays, look, I do it myself. Like my LinkedIn written posts are entirely made by AI. I come up with the idea, I come up with the concept, I come up with the theme, but in terms of the actual bulk of the writing, that's done by Claude. I'm not going to get away from that. I am trying to move away from that. As you know, I'm beginning to kind of like batch content a bit more now that we're open and not so busy. I'm not going to try and justify my reasons why I do that, but I am trying to move away from it, right? Anyway, the point being is that, sorry, knock the tripod then. The point being is that, like, I don't necessarily think that the application of AI into our everyday lives is necessarily going to be the greatest thing for humanity. And the reason why is because fundamentally it's being developed by organizations that don't have kind of let's say, okay, right, I need to be careful about the way that I word this, but essentially what I'm saying is I don't think that the organizations that are building AI necessarily have the most innocent intentions for the application of the product. At the end of the day, it's a funded by investors organization, all of them are, so therefore they will adapt and develop the technologies to the market and applications that have the most potential for return on investment, right? Fundamentally, that's what we're doing. But I think it's going to be really, really interesting to see and witness the actual implementation of this technology, and at what point the subset of humans that don't want it, like myself, that are very happy with where things are currently at and place a value on human expertise and human creativity, and don't want their jobs to just be fucking essentially managing a team of AI agents, right, to produce creative work, because there's nothing more boring in my perspective than that. But at what point we're going to basically say, like, no, like there's a line to this, right? And at what point is society and the human society going to begin to split, as it would have done in the technological revolutions of the industrial age, of the glass age, of all of this sort of stuff, right? And at what point on that line is life going to essentially become so focused on output, productivity, and ability to produce that we lose the beautiful kind of organic secret sauce that no one can really kind of describe that well. No one can really put it on there, but everyone knows it exists, right? And like I said, this is just a question that's been rolling around in my head, that is it really a case that we as humans are placing a huge amount of value on AI? And I think that the Odyssey and the fact that a film has just been made over 3 months with all humans and all graft and everything to do with that is being entirely celebrated, and is probably going to be one of the biggest talking points of the film industry for kind of the next like month or two, right? That's the thing that I wanted to talk about. That's the question that I wanted to mull over. I don't have a particular conclusion that I want to draw in this video. I think that what I'm kind of, or the way that I'm approaching this, is from a place of intellectual curiosity and fascination in the kind of the human, fascination in the human condition, of which where certain people are going to begin to place their value, and where people are going to draw the line and say that there is inherent value in creativity, the creative industry, and people's ability to think for themselves, right? It's everything that I've got for you in this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Check out the rest of them on the channel. I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.